Well, it's been 43 years since Ronald Reagan survived his attempted assassination attempt. And that was a massive event that changed the trajectory of his presidency. This weekend, we've seen that same occasion happen again in front of our eyes. I don't think really many of us have really taken the time to think in just how big of an event this actually is. Someone that took a shot at Donald Trump, very nearly killing him, hitting him in the ear. There's a lot of questions going about at the moment. There's a lot of conspiracy to how something like this could have happened. Who dropped the ball? Was it the Secret Service? Was it Biden trying to get his own back? I think one of the main things that comes down to it is, has this won Donald Trump the next 4 years? Rich, what are your thoughts about this?
Right. Well, I mean, my first condolences and apologies and concern and sadness go straight out to Francis Fukuyama, who, of course, is getting beaten around the head for having written that phrase of the end of history. It's now the end of history, part five, history strikes back, where we're seeing the return of something that we thought was over. We thought was finished. We thought political assassinations were a thing of the past. Like you said, 43 years for Reagan. And if you really want to go back to the golden era, so to speak, of assassinations, the 1960s, in the US at least, that's a long time ago, a very long time ago. So yes, history is back again. And this time, yeah, a near miss. I mean, you don't really get much closer than that. Skimming the ear, and apparently Trump says the only reason I think this is more of a political statement, but the only reason that he actually turned his head is because there was a billboard with some statistics on immigration. So he technically said that, the border problem was the reason he survived. But yeah, it's very dramatic. I mean, it on a personal level, it's quite shocking, actually. I think because it's someone we see so often and have seen for so often, you kind of actually feel like you know him because and you have seen his features so many times that. And the way it is described, the bullet piercing in the ear, it felt very personal to me, more personal than many other shootings that you've sadly seen, because it was someone that is, that we feel like we know. So yeah, pretty shocking stuff and huge implications.
Exactly. Love him or hate him, he is a character that, at least over the last 8 years, we've grown to be very close to. Obviously, Donald Trump's been a mainstream figure since the early 80s, but it's obviously since The Apprentice, but it's really since the presidency, he's been in everyone's faces. He's one of the most important figures in the world. So when something like this happens, everyone does take notice, whatever side of the equation you're on.
Right.
I do just want to actually watch it because obviously you're saying how dramatic this is, and the fact that Donald Trump he is a performer, and I feel like this assassination attempt was possibly one of the most dramatic there has ever been, and I think that is down to very much down to Donald Trump as the man. Let's have a watch.
Go ahead.
Oh, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
It is quite impressive the speed that Secret Service can jump on. I know there's a lot of criticism about their reactions there. I'm sure we're going to get into that.
Ready? On you. Ready? Move! Up, move! Go! Up. Hawkeye's here. Hawkeye's here. Move it to the stand. Stair, get ready. Stair, get ready. You ready? We're good. Shooters down. Are we good to move? We're clear.
He's already got it. Everything that happens very quickly.
Yeah.
Let me get my shoes. I got you, sir. Let me get my shoes. Hold on, your head is bloody. So we gotta move to the bus. Let me get my shoes. Okay. What's up?
I believe it's not even fight.
Right, that was it.
Because it
Fight,
doesn't come
fight.
through in the audio.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I didn't quite catch what you said at the beginning there. I think a little bit of a audios crossing over to each other, but yeah, pretty dramatic stuff. Very dramatic stuff. I mean, yes, the photo that came out of this, the various photos that came out of this. There's been all sorts of stuff. I don't know if you've seen the angel, the flag that had wrapped itself into either an angel or a whatever you want to see it as. Jesus was there. The flag, this huge American flag, had turned into a
Yeah,
yes crucifix or angel looking like thing
yeah.
above the stage before the shooting. So people are with a particular view are seeing this as a guardian angel was watching over him. That's why he survived.
It's, which I'm
Yeah.
sure a lot of his evangelical Christian base will be completely pandered into, which it has made me laugh a little bit. The notion that God or Jesus interfered to redirect the bullets away from this adulterer into the body of this firefighter, father of two,
Right.
who was shielding his family.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
logic there
Right.
doesn't
Yeah.
seem.
Where's the divine
I think what it
justice there?
was
Right.
is, yeah, I think
Right.
the obvious case is it was shot by a 20-year-old who was very inexperienced with the weapon he was firing, um, whether it be stress or nerves or. Um, so we have heard that a police officer came up the ladder and saw him. He pointed a gun at him and he immediately started going down the ladder again. And that's when he immediately fired his 8 shots. So I think it was a rush to get these
Mm.
shots in because he'd been discovered.
Right. Okay. I'm going to go back to that in a moment. I think before we get into the detail of it and then the aftermath, I just want to see the point about would this have led to a civil war? Quite a big sort of question. If he had actually died, so if he was successful, what would the implications have been? Um, uh, it's a difficult question. Obviously, no one would know the answer. It's a hypothetical, right? But this would have been a very different week, at
It would have been.
least. He wouldn't have been the candidate. He would be dead. The Republican Party would find someone new, but that whole base would be extremely angry. If we think of how extreme things got on January 6th amongst a certain section of his base, we can only expect that they would have had a similar reaction. So there would have been violence. I think there would have been some degree of attacks on certain buildings and certain militias and such, which MAGA and sort of the hard line of MAGA supporters do, incorporate themselves, and they do join militias with weapons and see themselves as the protectors of the nation, the oath keepers, and all these things, the Proud Boys. I think there would have been reciprocal violence from them. I don't know necessarily against, probably against some sort of state building or something, but I think we would have seen violence this week.
Certainly, I think even if it wasn't an organized militia, all it takes is one person, as this event showed. Uh,
Mm.
Definitely, it would have led to some level of tit for tat
Mm.
terrorism, assassination. I believe.
Mm.
I think Biden, if nature didn't get to him, somebody else would have done. Yeah, so it's incredible to think what could have happened, and then it's sort of incredible to think how we actually got to this point, which I'm excited to sort of look into.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Obviously,
I mean,
we don't know anything about this kid really yet. Thomas Matthew Kirker, I believe his name is, a 20-year-old kid. From what his school friends have said, he is. They said he had conservative political beliefs,
mhm,
but he's apparently hates Trump. Obviously, he shot at Trump. He was a registered Republican,
mhm,
but reports say that he actually donated once to a liberal pact on the day of Biden's inauguration. So
mhm.
it sounds to me, if you're following those breadcrumbs, that he was just a never Trumper conservative.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Maybe he was
I
a Ron
think
DeSantis supporter. Anything
yeah,
like that could happen. I
yeah.
think that's more likely than.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Finish your perspective. Sorry.
Oh yeah, yeah. So obviously, a lot of the conspiracies that are coming out already straight away. I think I saw Jason Unruh put a status up on the night, which I immediately go to because I thought how true it is. Then I really hope that the shooter is white, because if the shooter is black or Muslim, the the backlash against the cultural backlash from the MAGA conservatives will be so severe. And
Right.
it, yeah, it was almost a sigh of relief when I saw the shooter was white for that reason.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, and then to draw your comparisons, the only thing that this could possibly compare to is actually not the assassination of JFK or of RFK. It's of MLK. This is more equivalent to if when MLK was shot, Martin Luther King was shot, because you have a certain portion of the country which loves him, um, and is quite for different very different reasons. But when he was killed, there was a nationwide uproar, and the National Guard was called in for to various communities, and there were riot violence for days. This would be like that, yeah, yeah. If there was that
I think that's
racial element
a
to
fair
it, yeah,
comparison. I think some people might think that's quite perverse comparing the two, but it's really not. It's that to understand what Trump means to his supporters,
Hmm.
I can completely see that they would put him in the same sort of category as MLK, as a civil rights sort of, for standing up for American rights
Yeah,
in their mind, in their imagination. So I can completely see that being
yeah.
a fair assessment.
It's also the timing. It's because MLK was, you know, in his peak, we could say, of the civil rights movement, and was still an extremely important character. And who knows where he could have gone had he lived a full life, and the things he could have done in government or in America. So it's also that element that Trump is about to take the presidency again. Being killed then is seen as a theft. Something being stolen from his supporters, regardless of the ideology. Of course, is very different reasons and very different ideas behind it. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's it. Unfortunately, now we would it been this long now? I think it was 4 days ago. The police obviously raided the kid's home. Apparently, there was reports of some sort of explosive or semi-explosive in his car. I don't know how true that is. Um,
mm,
but one thing that is missing that we would have had by now is any sort of manifesto. Um, so I don't know how he thought, but it doesn't seem like he's left as many clues to go on. So unfortunately, it is speculation. Obviously, with
mm,
speculation comes conspiracy theories. Uh,
mm.
I'm almost suspecting that Oliver Stone is already writing the script for the Donald Trump assassination film.
Right,
Obviously, I'm wondering who's going to play him. Alec Baldwin's now free, I suppose he could come back and do it.
right, right, right.
It's probably a better shot.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, well, I mean, he's got a track record, right?
Yeah,
But yeah. So the conspiracy theories. Let's just go into that one. I mean,
yeah.
this personally, I mean, I spend a lot of time now on X or Twitter, and for me, I'm just wondering if were conspiracy theories about assassinations always just clickbait, click farming? Because the, the stuff that's come up, it's been just ridiculous. People analyzing people in
Yes.
the background and finding, oh, so and so is wearing a hat. He usually goes to rally this hat. He's got a yellow flag, and if you use naval signaling, yellow stands for Q. So it's Q and Q sent up, like as in Q from the QAnon conspiracies. I mean, it's just. I mean, at the moment, it's just garbage. Just the internet is full of absolute garbage. The most insane and backward ideas, um, and analysis of nothing. Just rabbit holes. Like the deepest rabbit holes of nothing.
It
Yeah.
doesn't help that because obviously there's no trust in government. Rightly so. This is a situation they put themselves in by being so untrustworthy.
Hmm.
So when me and my wife watched the shooting on the day, our reaction that we both said at the same time was that looks staged. Now I don't believe this, but it did. In the case of just because, as we said, Trump said before that. So
Mm.
what shook me afterwards is that we almost giggled that we both said the same thing, and then we found out everybody was fucking saying it.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I'm just going to show this article here from the BBC, where it wants to come.
Also, I think we'll put up the image in a bit later. I mean, of course, yes, the optics for this were historical for Trump. The images that came out of this. Yeah, here we go.
So how
Okay.
conspiracy theories and hate dominated social media feeds. So this was the word that trended straight away.
Mm,
Staged. And
mm,
it's one of those things that if this was 2016, they'd say it was Russian bots. But it seems that the algorithm, as it is sort of perpetuating its own conspiracies by putting this tagline wasn't a niche in the back of Twitter or X or whatever they want to call it. This
yeah.
was everybody's feed. Everybody was seeing these reports of it being staged. It's almost like it's being pushed by a computer or a person, but for some reason that was there. And they say whether conspiracies were always this clickbaity. And if I had to guess, if Twitter and Facebook was around when Kennedy got assassinated, it would be the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we've
Yeah.
seen 40 years of Kennedy conspiracies, and we're going to see 20 years of Trump conspiracy now.
Well, that's it. Yeah, we have now got a lifetime supply of new, fresh conspiracy theories about Donald Trump's assassination attempt to watch. So we'll be watching that until we die.
Yeah.
Great.
And it
Yeah.
only takes a sample of brain thought to realize how stupid this is, which I've had this
Mm.
argument a few days with people now. Of that, it's almost like you're trying to suggest that Donald Trump paid or recruited some 20-year-old kid to shoot his ear from 500 foot away to win an election that all polls say there's a good chance
He's
he's going
going
to
to
win
win.
anyway.
Yes. Yes.
I mean,
No,
that's a
100.
hell of a trust in a kid. But it
Yeah.
just doesn't hold up to any level of scrutiny.
Well, I mean, what they'll say then, this is the problem with conspiracy theories. They'll say, well, actually, he wasn't the shooter. There was another shooter, and he was under the grassy knoll
Conspiracy.
in the gutter, and he fired it, and there was a car that drove away. Blah blah.
Yeah.
There's a million. You'll never satisfy this stuff. There'll always be
Mm.
a new mad, like piece of unquestionable thing. You know, why was there a black van that was parked there for 4 hours before, and where was it afterwards? You know,
Yeah,
that's just the with conspiracy theories. But
that's the Israelis all over again.
I think the real overhanging question here, Chris, is that because it's America, we have to ask: did the good guy with the gun stop the bad guy with the gun?
Well,
Because
no, by the sounds of it. And this goes into the failing of the Secret Service and the snipers and everybody who was there who had guns around him, that he was allowed to pop off 8 shots. So
right,
obviously, I'm not any sort of security trained agent or anything, but I've been watching a lot of FBI agents being interviewed for the last few days. So the roofs were covered in snipers. So the main objective of these security forces is to be preventive, not to be reactive. You're meant to stop the shooter before he shoots.
Mhm.
The fact that he managed to get off 8 shots is astounding. The
Mm.
snipers on the roof should have had him zeroed in after the first shot. And when you see the footage I'm going to show in a few moments,
Mm.
the kid was in. The people in the crowd could see him.
Yeah,
If he's that clear for the crowd to see him, then how come snipers can't see him?
got you. I mean,
As
actually, I
soon as
think you
that
should put
cop went
footage
on
up.
the roof and saw him, he should have been on the radio straight away saying, "There's a shooter! There's a shooter!"
Yeah, yeah,
Should have been jumped on, and they should have shot him then and there.
got you. I think you should put the footage up because yeah, I do want to see some of the things that you've got, and yeah, we can talk about it with the footage there, because I know we just trash talked conspiracy theories and said, well, actually, no, this doesn't seem like it was planned. Uh, at the same time, I think it is interesting to look at some of the failing and how they do feed into the idea that this was staged or
Yeah.
was orchestrated. I mean, the alternative to the stage, so the stage is that it was done by Trump in order to get political favor, but the alternative is also that it was actually there was an attempted assassination, and the security services were in cahoots. There's actually two different lines of conspiracy theory there, right? At least two different lines.
My line of thought in terms of the Secret Service is just that it's that sort of level of getting your guard down It's been 43 years since this happened to Reagan. We thought we were past this, so
Mm,
it does seem that just maybe the security standards have just slipped because it seems
mhm,
like an unrealistic standard. I remember
mhm.
watching the old videos of Trump, like when he was president, and he'd be giving speeches to his own people in front of perspex glass, and now he's
Yes.
not. It was like maybe the glass should go back up. It does seem like there's been a downgrade in security.
Right. Yeah. I think I think they thought the threat level had been lowered, so things had changed. I always thought they kept the glass there. I remember Obama had this glass, but then again, like we mentioned, because of the racial element, there was probably a reason why he permanently had glass, bulletproof glass in front of him, because of right wing fanatics, racist fanatics. Um, yeah. Uh, sorry, are you putting up the footage? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think by this point it looks like
Don't get it.
Security measures aside, there was some
so
concern that
yeah.
federal and local authorities dismissed the warning signs brought up by witnesses at the rally.
And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 years ago. And you know, that's a little
He was up there for a couple of minutes.
He was up
you
there.
saw him up there for a couple of minutes.
Absolutely. At least 3 to 4 minutes.
And you were telling
Yep.
the police and the Secret Service.
We were telling the police, we were pointing at them for the Secret Service, who were looking at us from the top of the barn. They were looking at us the whole time when we were standing by that tree.
Could they see him?
Binoculars,
Could they see him?
probably not, because the roof, the way the slope went, he was behind where they could see.
Now, I know one of the big questions on everyone's mind, there are many that are unanswered, but what people are really clamoring toward is why may the Secret Service or any local officials there have ignored some of the warnings? I mean, we've seen the video of people saying, hey, there's someone up on the roof over there. Why might these warnings, so to speak, have been ignored?
Your mic there, Chris. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So these are the sort of questions that it's going to
Yeah.
take a while for this to come
Right,
out.
right. Yeah.
Obviously, we're old enough to remember much bigger investigation, but obviously the 9/11 investigation. These sort of investigations tend to be a committee that will give a report in about a decade's time, um, and it'll never be satisfactory.
Yes.
But the honest
Yeah.
truth is, somebody messed up.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I think also a part of that whole process of investigations is very much to dissuade and dissipate any potential political ramifications. I think it's very much an intentional thing for that. You know, we're it's under investigation. We'll release the reports once we know, and then it takes a few months and a few years, and by the time it comes out, people have kind of forgotten about it, moved on. But there are huge questions. I mean, again, we did trash the conspiracy theories. But the clip you just played of the guy being interviewed by the BBC, he claims that yes, they were pointing and shouting and gesturing towards this guy on a roof with a rifle that they could see, and it had been a long time. And then there's other footage where, as you just played, they're literally shouting like about 15 seconds, screaming before he fires, like he's got a gun, he's got a gun. You would think at that point the bodyguard would at
You
least
can
be on
still
the
hear
stage.
Trump talking.
What's that? So yeah, you can still hear Trump talking. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would assume if you hear a shout like that from the crowd, he's got a gun. That would be like, get them on the stage, cover them, and
Well,
then just
It should have been a much quicker reaction time. Like saying this was only a 500-foot away sort of area. It wasn't. When you actually look at the area, there's the buildings behind the stage, and then this building there. So
Yeah.
if you were a counter sniper, you'd be like, well, that's where someone's going to shoot at if they are going to shoot. That is
exactly. Yes.
that's the
Yeah.
glassing hole.
Right. So that's where the debate and the feed for the conspiracy theories comes in. Is that this was a very very easy place for him to get to, considering how easy of a shot he could take from. But to be honest, for this one, I mean, at the core of it, what we're talking about is policing America and how effective it is. And I don't think you need to be an expert for anyone to tell you that policing in America every 5 or 15 years results in something so catastrophic that it leads to national protests. So I'm not particularly surprised that the American police have not managed to pull off a good job, or the security service for that matter, the Secret Service. Sorry. Yeah, they screwed up. And bear in mind, they do have to do this every day at different events. And if you roll the dice like that, then there will be mistakes. But this is still pretty catastrophic, regardless of the fact that it's a police failing. But yeah, I mean, the rooftop. I mean, apparently also this guy got on there with a rangefinder first and tested the range, then went back, got his bag, climbed back up, then lined up the shot. Yeah. So
Yeah. So obviously, apparently, he was part of some sort of gun club at a gun range. So that's another point of conspiracy that I've seen talked about. So we've all seen at this point the iconic photo that is going to be one of the most iconic pieces of photography, I think, of the 21st century, of Trump being held with his fist up with the American flag behind him.
yeah,
Incredible piece of photography, very well taken by the photographer. But obviously, the conspiracy part of that is, well, if there was a sniper, you've got one, you don't know if there's another. You should have taken that flag down because that's now showing a potential second shooter. The wind
Yeah.
resistance, wind direction, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
That wasn't done. But obviously, these are the points that Kevin Costner is going to be saying in the inevitable film.
Yes. Right. Yeah, it is true. I mean, I think someone showing the Reagan footage that the standard procedure is, as you described, cover the president, cover the body, like literally put your body in the way. Not a single piece of him visible. Put him in a vehicle, get him out of there. Yeah, the fact that they allowed him to, fight and punch the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a risk too. I mean, there could have been another shooter. Yeah. But just on, sorry, you mentioned.
Stage.
Sorry.
Getting off stage, he was trying to get his shoe back on.
Yes.
So that was a delay. But they didn't have to let him put his fist in the air. That should have been an immediate. Like, no, there's a sniper. Put your hand on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, imagine if there was a second sniper, we would have had even more dramatic moment where he gets shot while fist pumping the air. Yeah. Just on that thing of the range. So, it was 150 meters. Is that right?
It's 500 feet. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, to be honest, I've shot a rifle. I mean, it's an AR-15 rifle that he had. So 150 meters with a essentially assault rifle. It's not a very difficult shot.
No, it's
But
an
to get
amateur level
someone's head,
shot.
yeah.
Any
But to
sort of
get
training club within the first 6 weeks should be expected to make that shot.
Yeah. So you would need sort of basic military rifleman skills. That's like a medium range shot. So I mean, you can usually get 300 or 400 meters on a rifle like that. But again, he was accurate. It's just that he turned his head, so it was a fatal shot. He did all he could do. He aimed at the head, fired, and had the head been turned differently, it would have been fatal. So he did actually get the shot. So to speak. Yeah.
Well, like I say, they were rush shot. So obviously there was panic there.
Yeah. There were other shots. Yeah. True.
Yeah. So just going off that, so I want to talk about, because obviously now there's a lot of speculation afterwards. Immediately the day afterwards, Biden went on, put a statement out wishing him a speedy recovery. I'm surprised that he got his name right. I was half expecting we wish President Trump a speedy recovery, as President Putin a speedy recovery.
Yeah.
And Trump apparently at the National Convention, they've all said, let's tone down the rhetoric. Trump's been coming out a lot about unifying the country. And all the papers of how has this hatred managed to get into our politics again. And it seems like they're all missing the point that it was them. They did it. So the Washington Post, I watched a big video on YouTube where they were talking about how violence has got into our politics. And then I just Googled the terms Washington Post, Trump, and Hitler.
All right. What did you find?
Let's have a look. So, How Trump's rhetoric compares to Hitler's. Yes, it's okay to compare Trump to Hitler. Don't let me stop you. Don't compare Trump to Hitler. It belittles Hitler. So it
God.
seems like they've done everything that they can to demonize a man. Of
Yes.
course, everyone's scared. I mean, this is what you're making them digest. But
Yes.
the Hitler is going to take over America. Then of course people are going to want to shoot at him. And they're
Right.
acting like they're not the ones who have done this.
Yeah. 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 I mean, this is a very important point. Is that this has now probably changed the entire campaign strategy for the Democrats, because they can't do the whole Project 2025 is the end of democracy. This is going to be the end of our country. He's going to overturn in our entire system, and he will become a one man state. He'll be like Hitler. So, yeah. So
When
what
you've
do you
got
expect?
a country whose constitution that is basically like a sacred text to Americans, that
Yes.
their gun rights is enshrined to protect them from tyranny, and then you tell them that tyranny is one election away.
Yes.
You've drummed up that much fear in their head that,
Yeah.
of course, this is going to happen, and they have nobody to blame but themselves at this point. And it almost sounds like but Trump was right. These people literally are the enemy of the people at this point.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Another important thing is that of course we might be sitting here and reflecting, and some elements of American society are still reflecting like, okay, we should dial it back. Like this is too much. There is still a huge part of the country which is not dialed it back. I mean, I've got some American friends, and they're like, damn it, he missed. And so I think some of it's irreparable. The polarization is irreparable. It's too far gone. For some people, for some sections, it's difficult to say how many, but yeah, I mean the shooter himself. I'm not 100% sure if this is confirmed, but there is a video of a student at a college, which I believe was his college, and they had a table set up for Trump, a sort of pro-Trump Republican, sign up and become a member kind of thing, and body paint. And there is a guy, which some people have said it was him, and he's screaming at the top of his lungs at these people, something along the lines of "Never give in to fascists. Trump is a fascist. You never ever do this. That's the line." But he's enraged. But like you just said, this is the rhetoric that was fed to all of Americans for more than 8 years. So yeah, where did you think it was going to go?
Exactly, and this is what's so dangerous. I know that both of us and people like us, many people like us, sit outside of this false dichotomy of this two-party bourgeois system, where we know that at the moment people are getting blown to pieces in Gaza, and these are bombs that aren't being sold by Trump; they're being sold by Biden.
Yeah.
Who knows? Next year, if Trump becomes president, Trump will sell them. But it's not a one-party blame. It's the whole system that's to blame. So this whole notion that this person's slightly to the right on some issues, therefore that is fascism. But these people wouldn't know fascism if it hit them in the face. They don't know when fascism rises, what its need for. But there's no socialism in America. If there isn't any socialism or any socialist movement, then there is no need for fascism to rise to try and stamp it out. That is what fascism has historically been for. Liberal democracy is no threat to the system. There's no reason to wheel out the fascists for that. All Trump wants to do is a few more socially conservative things than the Democrats do. For most people, they wouldn't even know the difference.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, in terms of it's the difference between fascism and sort of capitalist imperialism for people that are not inside the imperial core, so to speak. Yeah, there's no real difference. Maybe there'll be slightly less bombs or slightly nicer wars, slightly more liberal wars.
Gay pilots, trans pilots.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the packaging is different. The speeches are nicer. Anyway, but
and to be honest, this is exactly one of the reasons why I hope Trump does win, because Trump, to me, represented the bare face of American imperialism. It was without the thrills of Obama. Obama was handsome, he could sing, he could dance, he could tell jokes, he played basketball. But as many people point out, he was the black face of white imperialism. He carried on the exact same policies as Bush before him, the exact same wars, and Trump continued them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
There was no
I
change
actually,
of policy.
yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm coming to the same conclusion that actually I actually do want Trump to win. I would never thought I'd actually be saying this, but for me, the main logic behind it is I'm just looking at. I don't live in America, so American healthcare does not affect me. If my country gets invaded, I will not receive Obamacare. So if I look at Trump's rhetoric and I look at particularly his new vice president choice, JD Vance, realistically, we're talking about potential peace in Ukraine, which we've already seen 500,000 people, give or take, being killed and wounded on both sides. So, yeah, I'd like that to stop. I'm not an American citizen. If that's going to stop, great. Will Palestine or Gaza become better? It will probably be just as bad with Trump, maybe slightly worse. If I have to look at the numbers, Ukraine war stops. Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
It stays the same. Okay, we can't change that. Maybe there'll be more aggressive with Taiwan, but I do have a sort of logic that says if Vance and Trump don't see a benefit of huge war and paying for a war in Ukraine, why would they then be willing to pay for an equally expensive, if not more expensive, war in Taiwan? If they don't see the geopolitical logic of fighting for Ukraine, why would they see the geopolitical of fighting the war in Taiwan? So that's at least my logic at the moment as to why I think, yeah, maybe I do want to support Trump as someone who doesn't have a vote in the imperial system. But yeah,
Someone who doesn't have a dog in the race. I would much rather a conservative isolationist than an
Yep.
interventionist liberal in
Yes.
charge of the most powerful country in the world.
Yeah.
But that means some Americans lose some rights. You did it to yourselves at this point.
Yes, and don't expect sympathy from us, the people that sit at the barrel end, the pointy end of American imperialism, and we don't have the votes, we don't get the healthcare, and we can still have abortions over here. So sorry,
I'll always link arms and show solidarity to any progressive forces in America fighting for better conditions.
of
Those
course.
people are few and far between. The majority of the people, these are literally the geese voting for the fox at this point.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah. And I think their own lack of those voters that don't really consider the foreign policy elements and only see the domestic. I would say that they're just doing the same to us. So you chose this, really.
Yeah. So obviously, the Republican National Convention has just been is last night and today. I think it's a couple of days. Trump turned up with a bandage in his ear, looking very heroic. He got a hero's welcome in. I don't think he's given a speech yet, but obviously, like you said, he's confirmed that JD Vance is his vice president. But JD Vance used to call himself a never Trumper. He once called Trump America's Hitler, which I think that says a lot worse about Vance than it does about Trump. Because if you think that Trump is America's Hitler, why he was vice president?
Yeah, right. Who are you?
That seems bizarre to me. That's
Yeah.
quite a thing. That's quite a criticism to say against someone to walk back on.
Yes, I think that's got to be one of the biggest. There's an expression they use in South Africa for flip flopper. It's how politicians change their tune based on conditions, and that's got to be the biggest flip flopper line ever. Calling someone Hitler and then becoming their vice president. That's some Teflon. You've got to try and let that one fall off, to let that one not stick. So yeah, you're right. It does say more about him. I mean, we already talked about it briefly and mentioned it. I think that Trump was already likely to win after the debate. The debate was a turning point. I think 1 or 2% might have been lost there in favor of Trump. As you already said, this attempted assassination, will be will help his campaign. The pictures, the whole optics that have come out of it have definitely helped him. And so I think he's certainly the candidate, of course, of Republicans. But unless Biden is actually ousted as the candidate, I do think that he's not on track to win. Every other factor was already there. The poll numbers were extremely low. There's been two foreign policy disasters if you consider Gaza, nationwide protests, student protests. So again, the parallels with 1968, now that we've got an assassination attempt, are quite high. Unpopular war, which is Gaza, of course, and to a lesser extent Ukraine. A very unpopular one-term president who's trying to enact all these reforms. The comparisons with LBJ and losing an election are quite high, and him having to step down. The comparisons are getting higher and higher. So yeah, I do think August is going to be extremely interesting.
We've got a candidate who just got shot and stood up and looked hard doing it, harder than I've ever seen anyone take a bullet. Like he did that looking like a boss, compared to I'm an old man who needs help going upstairs because he falls down. That
Right.
is night and day. I think that Trump looks the stronger character at the moment. I think that is a lot less going to win him in this election. People aren't just voting for Trump; they're voting against Biden.
Right. And again, I do feel sorry for people in America because they're stuck in that eternal two-party conundrum, which is centuries old now. And they do have
a last thought which made me laugh, because obviously one of the other people that is running as an independent in this election is Kennedy Jr.
Yeah, RFK.
Obviously, his dad was assassinated. His uncle, Jennifer Kennedy, was assassinated. The day after Trump's assassination attempt, he called RFK. We don't know what was said, but it just made me laugh. I sort of just felt like, I hope it's okay that I got shot and it wasn't you. Like, I know this is your family's thing.
Right, yeah, it's your family tradition, right?
Stepping on your toes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. The only other thought I would add was usually, what are assassinations like in other countries? What does it usually lead to or be an indicator of? And the list is pretty dramatic. Franz Duke Ferdinand, World War One, Tsar Nicholas, is that an assassination? King Charles in the UK, that was, Civil War. All of these things are Civil War. Not all of them, though.
Yeah.
Shinzo Abe, he got shot. He died, sadly. He was already finished as a prime minister. But Chris Hani in South Africa. So generally, these are indicators of very bad things to come in terms of a conflict that rolls out of it. But
I think
I
as
don't
Trump would
know.
admit himself,
Go ahead.
Trump would admit himself, he does have some bad hombres, as he'd say, in his movement. So it's a good job, I think, for everybody's sake that Trump survived. Because if these people lost their leader, then some people could do something very unpredictable, and more people could not hurt.
Yeah. Indeed. I'm just on the final thought. I don't think there would have been a civil war because I don't see any general that was willing to sort of break ranks and go against people. I think it would have been just a short burst of violence. Yeah.
Well, hopefully, I think we've avoided that.
Yeah, I think so.
Right. So shall we leave it there?
I think we should leave it there. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We'll see you again soon.
See you soon.